In this special 88th episode, Eduard Kejnovsky came all the way from Moravia to join me, so I'd like to welcome him here.
Hello, thank you for the invitation.
Eduard Kejnovsky, together with Ivana Karaskova, is the author of this fantastic book, which, as I mentioned before, I've already bought 5 times this year for a huge number of people. And to jump right into a topic that a lot of people who read the book have asked me about, are men degenerating? And it's our chromosomes that are to blame. So maybe we can start with this topic. What exactly is a chromosome? And why is the male chromosome degenerating?
Well, it's like this. Every person has one set of chromosomes from their mother and another from their father. And that's called, and in total, a person has 23 pairs of chromosomes. And 22 of those pairs are so-called autosomes, which are chromosomes that are the same in both men and women. And then there's one pair of chromosomes called the sex chromosomes, or sex chromosomes in English, and those are the well-known X and Y chromosomes. And it's actually one of them, the Y chromosome, which only men have because men have an X and a Y, while women have two X's. That Y chromosome is the one that's degenerating. And why is that? It's because all the autosomes in each pair are basically the same. And between them, a process called genetic recombination takes place. Genetic exchange, which you could say is like mixing a genetic cocktail during the maturation of sex cells, during the maturation of sperm in men and eggs in women, there's always genetic recombination happening there. This is a very important process, which is essentially the reason why sexual reproduction came about. Because sexual reproduction has persisted in evolution precisely thanks to this recombination. I'm saying that the X and Y chromosomes are different. The Y is small, degenerated, and doesn't really have a partner. Or more precisely, it's the X that doesn't have a partner because the X is larger. And that's exactly why genetic recombination doesn't occur between them, because they are different. They are different, so only regions that are always homologous, the same or similar, can recombine. But these are different, and that's why genetic recombination doesn't occur there. That's actually the cause of the degeneration. Whenever a part of the genome doesn't recombine, degeneration occurs there because recombination acts as a kind of genetic rejuvenation, a cleansing, a healing of the bad parts. Normally, mutations accumulate and most of them are bad or harmful, but recombination cleanses and rejuvenates the chromosome. However, in this case, the Y chromosome doesn't get that rejuvenation and that's why it degenerates. And what's interesting is that while the X chromosome, which is quite large, one of the largest, has about 1 to 2,000 genes, the Y chromosome only has 78 genes. That means it has lost all the remaining genes. This is sometimes called gene erosion. Over the course of evolution, it lost them, and now it only contains, in quotes, important genes like the one for earlobe hair, but most crucially, it has the SRY gene. There is a specific gene that is exclusively found within the male genetic makeup, which is responsible for providing the instructions for the development of testes in males. And this process then directly results in the biological production of sperm, as well as the essential production of testosterone. And this subsequently leads to the fact that we men are more aggressive, more selfish, less empathetic, take more risks, are more sexually promiscuous, drive less responsibly, drink more alcohol, smoke, and so on. This is precisely the responsibility of the SRY gene, which only we men have. This
Is the practical side when we talk about that chromosome and, as you called it in your book, so humorously, how it degenerates. I immediately told a few of my female friends about it. It's not our fault. That's what it practically means. It's exactly these things that are related to the SRI gene. Or does this degeneration have any other practical manifestation?
For example, the fact that we don't have those genes on the X chromosome backed up. A woman has two X chromosomes, so every gene located on the X chromosome is backed up. She has it twice. And we only have that gene on the X chromosome once, and it's actually missing from the Y chromosome because it was lost there. So, for example, hemophilia, which is a blood clotting disorder, only affects boys because a woman usually, besides being a carrier, has one bad copy but also has a good one, which basically overrides the bad one. And if a man has that one bad copy, unfortunately, he simply suffers from hemophilia. So women are carriers and men are the ones who actually get hemophilia. And there can be several such diseases. That's the practical impact.
Can you talk about dormant genes?
Dormant genes, yes. We humans have in our genome about over 20,000 genes. And the vast majority of these genes, we have all of them the same in every one of our cells, except for red blood cells, which don't have a nucleus and therefore don't contain genetic information. Otherwise, in every other cell. And the genetic information is exactly the same in every cell. And the reason why one cell is a liver cell, another is a heart muscle cell, and so on, or another is a brain neuron, the difference is that in each cell, different genes are active. And only a small portion of genes from the entire genome is active in each cell. And the most active are brain cells. In the brain, about 50% of genes are active and the other half are dormant. Whereas in other organs, there are many more dormant genes.
Well, actually, these dormant genes are quite interesting, especially when it comes to so-called civilization diseases, because they might not manifest if, for example, the other paired gene from the man or woman is healthy, and thanks to that, the damaged one doesn't show up. But later, if both damaged genes come together, then it can manifest. Can you relate this to what we've discussed?
This is called a recessive homozygote, and in fact, many diseases are recessive. To develop the disease, you need to have both of the faulty alleles. When they come together in you, that's when the disease manifests. If you have only one, then you are a heterozygote, so-called, meaning a carrier. And that's why so-called inbreeding or consanguineous breeding is actually dangerous. That's exactly why it's dangerous, which many people don't realize, because there's a much higher probability that in one cell, in one zygote, in one individual, those closely related, identical, harmful alleles come together. An allele is a variant of a gene. Genes have different alleles, different variants, and some of them can be normal, which we call wild type in English, or they can be the harmful ones. And if, for example, some great-great-grandfather has one of those harmful alleles and one of his relatives has another harmful one, and then relatives interbreed, those two harmful alleles can come together, resulting in a recessive homozygote. It might be a little less clear, but yes, that's the reason, just as you said. Yes.
Like, as you say, inbreeding, when we look back into the past, Darwin, for example, married his niece, I think it was.
Yes.
He had 10 children with her, and I think 3 of them, if I remember correctly, died very young, simply from some infection. What do you think led these truly famous, remarkable people to inbreeding? What did they see as the positive in it?
When someone falls in love, they simply don't care that the person is a relative. If he liked her, if he was attracted to her in some way, I always say the most important thing is if a woman doesn't smell right to you, just walk away immediately. I think that primarily, and this is well known, the first senses by which we perceive a potential partner are smell and taste. Those are the oldest, the most archaic senses. Then come the visual and auditory perceptions. But if a woman simply doesn't smell right to you, it means she has a similar histocompatibility complex. That's actually the complex that determines a person's immunity. And actually, the goal is, let's say in quotes, for the offspring to have the most diverse, the most varied immune system possible. So the point is that the partners should differ as much as possible in their immune systems, and that's exactly what scent ensures. Yes, that's well known. So if they like each other's scent, it's likely that their immune systems are different and their offspring will be highly diverse. And why is it good to have diverse offspring? Because if, for example, environmental conditions change, then if you have highly diverse offspring, there's always at least some chance that at least one individual will take hold, survive, or adapt to the new, different, changed environment. That's why it's good. Everyone can occupy their own niche. You can even see this in children. When we have children, we notice that they are very different from each other, and that's probably because each one can at least occupy their own niche. One is good at one thing, another is good at something else, so that's probably how it works.